So I realized just how bad I need therapy. Like, seriously, I need therapy. I used to use my YouTube channel, telling my testimony in a sense, as like a therapeutic outlet. And I need that. I need it. Plus, the Lord had told me some time ago to start telling my testimony in real time. And I don't know what that looked like, but there were a lot of things that I was going through during that time that I didn't want to talk about because I didn't even understand it myself. So I realized how bad things can get misconstrued. And then it doesn't help that I'm already under heavy surveillance. And so I had to sit back on that. Well, now in light of recent events, I don't know if you guys know this, but I lost my Michael. We had separated a year ago, but I didn't think that he would not be a part of my life. I always thought he would always be a part of my life. And, I didn't know how that was going to look. I had my thoughts about it, but we were trying to work through things. And in the process, what I've done is I've spent a lot of time looking at a system of things to try to understand it better. And I have uncovered the biggest conspiracy related to mankind. And of course, I'm not on the YT channel. I'm not able to talk about it like that. However, so I spent a long time reading policies and guidelines and things like that. So I've learned that I can ask questions, and when I ask those questions, I can try to find people who will give me a response. And in the midst of that, let the people decide. So I've worked on this for a long time. I've put a lot of work into it. But I've been building my brand separately. I haven't been, getting on my YT channel and like, hey guys, follow my brand and blah, blah, blah. Although you really should, because we are bioelectrical beings. And if I know that when I came out telling my testimony many years ago, I had told everybody that God said, you're next. And then now I'm getting on the internet and there are so many people who are a part of this program. But unfortunately, I'm also noticing that these people are being misled. I was misled in a lot of ways too. So, iron doesn't mix with miry clay. But anyways, so I'm going to be exploring. And my YT channel, this is my home base. I love you guys. Thank you for, just being a part of my life. Some of you guys have made comments showing terms of endearment. And it's really helped me along because I have just honestly... right when I started telling my testimony, I was really lost. And I told everybody then, I started telling my testimony because God himself told me to tell my testimony. And I said, no, I wasn't going to do that. But it was because I kept praying. I was like, how do I overcome? I was doing things that I didn't want to continuously do. And I didn't understand how to break the cycle. And then he showed me Revelation 12:11, for they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, for they loved not their lives unto the death of it. So I took to telling my testimony because of that. I kind of went back and forth with him, and he said, Carmen, is there anything too big for me? And I'm like, no, there isn't. Well, so I'm going to do a time hop. I'm going to actually go back and fill in all the blank spots from where I've been, what's been going on. And I'll tell you, just so you know, I've oftentimes told people, don't follow me. You don't want to follow me. I am not a teacher. I am not trying to teach anyone anything. I myself am the one who's trying to overcome. And I have dealt with a lot of things in my life, reading scriptures. I could see where, this woman that is against God, she's his enemy. And I realize now it's a female spirit. And I think that too, before the fire ministry. But I want to say that I have been that woman. I was that woman, loudmouth, argumentative. I didn't want to stay home. I enjoyed, I worked a lot though. So most of my excuse was, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. But, looking back too, I hate that because when I wasn't working and then, kids were getting older and I was like, this is so mundane. School, kids. And, I want to go play a game of cards or something. My goodness, didn't want to stay home. And looking back, I see, my gosh, I wanted to go play cards. Why didn't I sit home and just hug my kids, make some cookies with them, or find something else to do with them? Why did I choose to say, well, tonight I'm going to go play poker? I started, I have always, I guess in some sense, envied that librarian, where she's like the perfect female. She's quiet, she's well organized, and I just wasn't. I come from a rough background. I was from childhood a very gifted little girl. I could read people's minds. I could tell people their futures. I was never wrong. Never. My mom used to send her friends to me and be like, Carmen, can you tell? And I'd talk to these people and they'd be like, what's going on here? What's going on there? And I would tell them. And they'd call back months later and go, how did you know that? I'm like, I just do. And you want to know something? The prophetess Jezebel called herself a prophetess. So, you don't see me now saying the same things that I did when I was younger. And I've been talking to God about that. He said, I gifted you with things. So I don't even know how to use those gifts. I don't even know day-to-day routines. All I know is okay, God, I don't know what you have in store for me today, but whatever it is, may your will be my way. And so that's just the way I've learned how to basically combat myself in a sense, I guess, if that makes sense. Because in reality, even in the book of Revelation, it says, to he who overcomes, well, what are you overcoming? Your own worst enemy is you. I am my own worst enemy. I am my... everything that could come against God, I've embodied it, And so I'm keeping this real because, like I said, you don't want to follow something like that. But I realized, too, that a wise man knows that he learns from another man's mistakes. So if you can learn something from me of what not to do, then why wouldn't I share it? Because there's so much in that people could take away and say, I don't want to do that. So, with that being said, I guess you're going to see more of my face. You're going to see some snippets because I began talking on a new channel on TT. So there'll be little snippets that's coming together. And then simultaneously, some of these things that I'll be talking about, I'm going to be talking about on other channels because I'm more focused on my brand. This I'm going to use for therapy, and also we're going to go back over some things because I think we're sitting right on the cusp of what I started warning about 8 years ago. No, I don't think. I know. And so we all should be prepared for us standing before our Lord and Savior. I find a lot of people are scared, If anyone had a right to be scared to stand before God, it would definitely be me, It really would, because of all the things I've done wrong in my life. I am petrified of standing before God and Him saying, nah, you're not good enough. I am petrified of that, I have to tell you. But at the same time, my faith in Him, it can't. There's so many people that have tried to tell me, you're not saved. God couldn't love you. There's no possible way. And God has showed up and showed out, and Jesus has shown me and continues to show me his presence throughout my life. And I trust that. I trust him. And so anyways, I guess I'm back with my rambles because that's what I do. And this is day one, I guess. Let's see how consistent I can be, because one thing about being targeted when in my targeting was I learned that consistency caused things to happen. Like, they loved when I was consistent. When I had a schedule and I was consistent in things, they were like, oh, well, she's going to do this around 2 o'clock. Let's make sure things happen this way, or that way. And so I started, okay. Every time I had my consistent schedule and I started noticing these things were happening, I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I'm going to start doing things randomly. And when I adapted that randomness, things didn't happen as often. So I have adapted this randomness, but it is horrible. Like, I was so much better, so much put together when I kept a journal and I did things on a regular basis like other people do. Yeah, that was where I found comfort, but I don't have that comfort anymore. Everything is random. I don't like doing things regularly. Like, for instance, I've been cooking dinner at 7 o'clock for the last year, and I've noticed now, like, the drones for the last 8-10 months have been flying over me at exactly the same time that I come out to do that, and then I feel like crap again. And these spots on my face get worse, and I don't want to eat and all this stuff because of what the drones are doing. The burning that they do to me. And people, if I say, well, like, I don't want to do that because I don't like them being able to do whatever they do the way they're doing it, people look at me like, well, what's wrong? Well, I told you I get hit with drones. Okay, but because they can't see this, because there's an invisible, tactic being deployed against me, they dismiss it like it's nothing, And so I want to talk about that because so many people are actually dealing with this now, and I can tell you one thing's for sure: I'm a professional in this arena. You know that? I'm a professional. I've survived. I am not a victim. I am a survivor. And so, anyways, here I am talking about my survival and rambling about my life. So, much love, everybody. I hope you're having a good day.